Hi, welcome to Happy Tales. I'm Cheryl Rosenthal, Communications and Education Coordinator here at the Oshkosh Area Humane Society.
And I'm Joni Geiger, Executive Director.
And today, Joni, our show is about doggy daycare.
Yep.
And with us today is Christy Meredith from C Spot Run. She is the doggy daycare manager there. Welcome, Christy. Thank you so much for being here today. We want to know about doggy daycare and why is it good for our pets? How does it benefit pet owners? And how we utilize doggy daycare sometimes here at the Oshkosh Area Humane Society.
Absolutely.
So a lot of good information.
So I guess I'll start and just, how does it work? What is the premise behind all of this?
Well, doggy daycare is basically group play with a large group of dogs. So a lot of people utilize something like the dog park. You know, they bring their dogs out, they go there themselves, but maybe you don't have all that extra time. So you can bring your dogs in, you know, drop them off for the day while you're at work, having a good time, whatever it might be. And then they're out socializing, you know, with us in particular. So we have, you know, separate, you know, groups depending on the dogs. So it's just kind of a nice way to exercise and work on social skills, you know, for your dog.
Is there different time limits that my dog can be there? Does he have to be there all day? Or can he just be there for a couple of hours? And what do I have to be responsible for with my dog? I mean, has to be current on his vaccinations? Does he have to be a certain size, a certain age, or what are the things that I need to be prepared with?
Sure. Well, we can start off with age requirements because that's really important. Our facility in particular requires puppies to be at least 12 weeks and have had their second distemper vaccination. So usually, you know, if they get them at 8, then 12, they're okay. So 12 weeks of age is going to be the youngest that they can come for the group play. To get started, we don't have any age, you know, how old they, you know, once they're 12, they can't come anymore.
Okay,
but,
so there's no limitations.
You know, there's no limitations on that, but maybe your 12-year-old dog is not going to enjoy, you know, playing with other dogs.
Is it strictly, you know, it's doggy daycare, but I mean, it's like, do you still, if my dog is dog selective, or if my dog's older and just isn't interested in being with other dogs, would you still take my dog? Would you still?
We would. Well, there are two different things between older and not being interested and dog selective.
Right.
We, for a first visit out to us, we require an evaluation. That tells us that it's the first time your dog's ever been out to us, and we do a slow introduction into the group to see how they're going to be. Because if we take your dog and throw them in with the entire pack, they might feel a little bit, first of all, overwhelmed. They're in a new place, new people. They've not met these dogs before. And if they are dog selective, they're likely to not be appropriate with other dogs. So we ask them to be on a scale of tolerant to social. Tolerant is, you know what, you might go in the corner and lay down and sleep, but you're not going to go after a dog,
right,
you know, because they're too close to your space. So, you know, maybe you have a 12-year-old, we'll say golden retriever, for example, that maybe is, you know, pretty lazy, maybe, you know, some sore hips, something like that. You're gone all day, you know, you got to be gone for 9 hours, but you don't want to leave them at home. So you bring them in, maybe they don't play, but they're mingling nicely with the entire pack and they're not essentially causing problems. We're always honest and tell people exactly how it is. Like, we're not going to say, oh, your dog played all day, because first of all, they're going to say, you guys are crazy because my dog hasn't played, right?
My 12-year-old.
Right, your 12-year-old dog played all day. You know, we're going to be honest. And we might also say, you know, they did fine, but they're really not enjoying themselves. If they're sitting in a corner facing, you know, the wall, you know, panting, stressed, drooling, maybe they're not, you know, being outwardly aggressive to other dogs, but they're not enjoying themselves. And that's something that people have to keep in mind too, that it's not beneficial even if you're gone for the entire day.
You know, good for you, because that says volumes about your organization, is that it's really about the dog.
Right, and that's really what we want people to know and understand. So we do offer, you know, a day board. Maybe you have an old dog that you have to be gone and you want it to get out more than, you know, once every 9 hours, where it would have time to relax in a kennel suite, you know, and have potty breaks individual on its own rather than with the group play.
Do you ever provide, like, if I have an elderly dog and I have to be gone for a whole day and I'd like my dog to be with you and get a potty break, but can you provide my dog with, you know, maybe 10 minutes of one-on-one attention?
We sure can do that. We do that often, and that's a different service. You know, we offer a playtime for a, you know, just one dog, one-on-one with, staff, staff
Now,
only.
you're not a boarding facility, though.
We do boarding, yeah.
Oh, you
we
do board.
overnight. Yep.
Oh, okay, so you do board overnight.
Yep, we do
okay.
do overnight.
So you have a multitude of services.
Correct.
It isn't just a doggy daycare where it's a playtime. It's also a boarding facility, and if I choose that I want my dog being by him or herself,
right,
you'll accommodate that.
We sure will. We sure will. And we do take dogs that are, we'll say, quote unquote, dog aggressive, but we're very careful, and obviously those dogs aren't in group play. And they have their own suite, they have their own fenced-in yard to play in. So we can accommodate for pretty much anything as long as they're friendly with staff.
Now, is there some kind of assessment that you do previously? You've never met my dog. I've got a 3-year-old lab mix that I want to bring in.
Okay.
And I would like my dog to participate in the doggy play.
Sure.
So what do you do?
So their first day out, remember, is their evaluation. So what we do is we bring them out and we do kind of a little mini handling. We want to make sure that the dog is going to allow us to touch their collar, touch their ears, feet, tail, check them for things like fleas or, some sort of infection or something like that would make them unsafe to play into the group. We need all dogs to be handleable by staff. Because if I reach for a dog's collar and they turn around and bite me, then that's not safe, because we do have to do things like that. Or maybe, a dog, maybe they ran so much that they scraped open their paw pad. Well, if I have to flip their foot over, I should feel comfortable that the dog isn't going to, turn around and bite my hand or bite my face or something like that. So that's the very first part of their visit. If that goes well, and they don't have to be like always enjoying it. Some dogs are like, ooh, it's kind of like, they think they're at the vet, a little bit apprehensive.
Yeah, we see that here.
Right, but they're not going to, injure somebody,
right.
doing
Or the
that.
dog that sometimes you pick up their foot and they kind of put their mouth on you like,
right.
I really don't like that.
Right, and we're totally understandable, about that. And then we slowly introduce them into the pack. So we have a lot of regular dogs who come out that we know just as well as our own personal pets. So we start picking dogs to slowly introduce them to that. Maybe they showed interest through a fence. We have 5 fenced-in areas, so we can have a new dog in a completely separate fence. And that way it helps us to judge how comfortable they're feeling. Are they hiding in the corner? Shaking, drooling, tail tucked between their legs. Those are all signs of fear and stress. Or at the fence line, wagging their whole butt and,
I want to get over there and play.
Exactly.
I want to
like,
come and play with
why am I
everybody.
here? I want to be over there. And then we might pick a dog who's really showing interest with them through the fence. And if nobody's really showing interest, we might go with someone who we know is maybe a good match based on that dog's, personality. And then we bring one dog and see how they are. Because one of the unfortunate parts about daycare is you bring a new dog in that might have been there 100 times, and the whole pack wants to kind of go check them out and almost
it's overwhelming.
Overwhelm them. So especially if you have a brand new dog you've never seen, you don't want the entire pack to do that. Even though they don't mean anything bad, it's kind of like, oh, someone new is here. We have to go check them out.
Kind of like teenage girls mobbing a celebrity. Right?
Exactly.
It's kind of like, whoa,
Same
wait a
thing,
minute,
like, hey, back off.
Yeah.
So, and then slowly doing that.
Do you ever see dogs, if you have them in a different fenced-in area, any dogs that have barrier aggression that they really like to play with other dogs, but when they're on the other side of that fence, they're, for whatever reason, have some barrier aggression?
We have seen that, not nearly as much as you would think, and then we might use a staff's dog, for example. If we think that they might be okay, but we don't want to put someone else in danger. And I don't want to say we're putting our own personal pets in harm's way, but if we think
your own
something,
pet,
we know our own
language.
pets.
Sure.
We know, for example, I've got a, really mild-mannered, super appropriate Great Dane. Well, she's not going to react if another dog reacts to her, and some dogs might do that. So I might say, hey, well, go check this dog out. So,
and the only reason I ask that is I have a dog that has some barrier aggressions.
Right.
And he loves playing with other dogs, but when there's something in between him and other dogs, then he gets real territorial or whatever.
Right.
And then if you can get them all together,
then they're
he's like,
perfectly
oh,
fine.
this is good. I like this.
And we
This
always
is
do
fun.
introductions off leash. A lot of people feel it's more appropriate to do introductions on leash because they have better control. But it oftentimes makes dogs feel more tense and uncomfortable. They have no way to retreat, if they want, or get to the dog if they want. So, we've not had any problems with that based on giving everybody enough time, knowing previous history.
Well,
and things
that
like
kind of comes back to a question that I was thinking about is like, how many staff people participate in this dog play? And I would assume there's obviously, you're watching this and there's supervision. And what kind of training and experience do you have, and does your other staff have?
Well, actually, a lot of our previous staff have come from shelters,
Yes,
I think.
they have. I just want to make that real clear.
Yes, a lot of people have, and the nice thing about that is at shelters you see so many dogs, you see so many, you see so many different personalities, you do a lot of mixing of other dogs that you have no previous background for them. And we do have a little bit of background about dogs that come. We ask owners to fill out what we call a new client form that gives us some previous history to know if they've played with other dogs, issues, things like that in the past, so we can, know them a little bit better. But, a lot of things you learn based on body language is all gained knowledge through experience. We do have pretty extensive new hire training that they spend about 6 weeks shadowing another staff member before they're really ready and comfortable to go into a group, because people are trusting us to watch over their dogs.
Absolutely.
We're not just going to say, all right, there you go,
Yeah.
Go run and play.
Go run and play and see if you can manage it. So we do a lot of training that way, a lot of continuing education and a lot of reading and things like that to help you understand, body language and things like that of managing.
I think too, like some people just are, it does take a level of confidence and comfort to be able to mix dogs, because as you say, sometimes you just don't know, and you have to be able to watch body language. But it does come easier to some people than others, because some people are just good at it and are comfortable and don't panic, whereas others, and obviously that energy, I think, kind of betrays itself to the dogs, because they read our language.
Yeah. What dogs benefit from doggy daycare? Whose dog would probably benefit from doggy daycare? I know that I've brought my dogs a couple times and they absolutely loved it.
Right. A lot of dogs benefit. It can have negative effects, but a lot of people, like, they've got young puppies, so maybe they're at work, that work all day, and to have a puppy locked in a crate for 8 or 9 hours is probably not ideal for most of them. Some puppies can do it just fine without a problem, but you can bring them, they can exercise, they're getting those potty breaks. They're also getting social skills. It's so important for young puppies to get out and socialize and meet so many new puppies and adult dogs, when they're really young at that 12 to 16 weeks of age. So
and also being with different people and listening and taking directions from other people.
Yep. And we do work on, some, kind of minor important things like not jumping up on staff, house training skills, good dog for going potty outside, sharing your toys, we've got water bowls that are obviously grouped, so we need to make sure nobody's guarding water bowls or balls. Our little dog pack has a larger variety of toys because they tend to share better than the big dogs. But things like Nylabones and stuffed toys and things like that, they're learning how to share those, appropriately. So, maybe you have a super polite dog who's dog social, who's mild-mannered, but you just want them to get them out so that they're still comfortable, so that way if you do need to board them overnight, it's not the first time that they've ever been away from home, 4 or 5 years later. So we get a lot of people who are like, I just want to bring them here once a week, twice a month, something like that, just so they're comfortable with us, and it's not the end of the world when they might have to drop them off.
Or they see doggy daycare as, gee, I wish mom and dad would go away more often so that I can go to doggy daycare and stay
there
overnight.
are some dogs who are that way. We have a lot of regulars who, might come every Wednesday, and they know it's Wednesday, and they don't want to eat their breakfast, and they're ready to go when the owners wake up because they know that.
So it's not necessary, it's a great stress buster for my dog if I'm working all day.
Right.
For my dog to come to doggy daycare. But does my dog need to come every day?
They don't need to come every day. And we actually don't encourage people to bring dogs every day, because a lot of times what tends to happen is they start to see that as their own territory, and can tend to be a little bit more possessive of the facility, the staff. They, they get to know people, particularly well. They start to, see them maybe as potentially a second owner. If you're with us Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m., you see us just as much as you might see
your owner.
See your owner at home, for them. So, and that's a lot for any dog. Even the most active of dogs, that much playing is not even beneficial. And some people don't realize that. They think, oh, I've got to, German Shorthair Pointer that are high energy. I'm going to bring them to daycare 5 days a week, and they're going to be a good dog. But even that is too much
that
exercise,
can be
and they
stressful.
can get tired and crabby too.
If my dog is there all day, are they with other dogs all day, or do you have like for kindergarten, you have like a nap time or a quiet time?
We do, and we think that's really important because if you drop your dog off and they play all day,
I agree,
they're gonna get crabby with each other. So we actually do a break from our group play goes from 8 to 11 and then 1 to 4. So if they come, we open at 6 a.m. So if they come at 6 a.m., they're going to be in a kennel, you know, until group starts. And then from the 11 to 1 o'clock hour is break time. And that allows you to, maybe you feed your dog lunch or you want them to have a snack, because if they play all day, probably a good thing to, you know, take a short little snack break.
How big are your play groups?
Depending on the day, we like to keep it about 20 to 25 for big dog group. And that might be 1 to 2 staff members depending on the dogs. Winter months we have less ability to offer more play groups because we're kind of stuck inside. Where in the summer months we can spend more time outside. So big dog pack, we usually have to you know, call and say we've got too many dogs, you know, no more. Little dog tends to not fill as quickly or as often, but usually we see our little dog pack maybe about 15 dogs, you know, on a daily basis. So
15 all playing together?
15 all playing together.
Oh, wow.
And you know, they don't all always love each other. There's an occasional, you know, we've had maybe, you know, maybe 2 or 3 that says, oh, if this dog's here, they can't play here. And we don't see that often. Most of the time. If they don't like each other, they do their own things. They've got their own friends. They stay away from each other, but they're not, you know.
Okay, and there's always somebody there.
There's always someone, yep. There's always someone with a little dog pack and always 1 or 2 staff with a big dog pack. And
that was my question, is like, if you do have a skirmish, you know, obviously there is an issue with 1 or 2 of the dogs, and and sometimes that can escalate. You've seen that, I'm sure, you know, where the pack kind of just joins in and it gets kind of hairy. So how do you guys handle that?
Well, I think with our pre-evaluation, I think that cuts out a lot of those issues.
Okay.
We do, yes, occasionally might have a squabble over something. Maybe this dog wanted the ball, they didn't want to share this. Our staff wears like a little painter's pack, fanny pack, and we do use a spray water bottle as an aversive, and it usually tends to stop anything. If any dog's feeling uncomfortable, tense, maybe guarding something, usually a lot of times saying their name will get their attention. They're like, oh, I'm not supposed to be doing that, you know. And then we really work hard on praising when they stop whatever they're doing. So if they don't listen after their name has been called, we might use our spray water bottle. We also have a like a shaker can, a soda can with coins in it.
Okay.
Yep, that we could also shake, and a lot of times that's enough to get everybody to stop and look and like, oh geez, what's going on?
Sometimes just interrupting that behavior getting their
is
attention,
enough to
it's
get
like,
them stopped.
Oh, okay, I guess we got to go do something else.
And you know, we have had things that, you know, we've got to, you know, separate 2 dogs from each other, and we do utilize timeouts, and that works better than you would think. You know, you're going to your kennel. You're going here, oh shoot, I shouldn't have done that because now I'm not, you know.
Now I don't get to
play. Now
I
don't get to play, you know. So really young puppies, like at the, you know, 12 to 16 week old age, they tend to get a little bit more crabby with each other and other puppies a little bit quicker. So we also do utilize additional breaks, you know, kennel breaks as needed with those real young puppies, you know, other than that, you know, midday thing, because sometimes that's too much.
What about play styles? Because obviously, you know, dogs have different play styles.
They sure do.
Some dogs will do body checks and all those kinds of things that, you know, that maybe another dog isn't comfortable with. So how do you mix that? Or
well, I think a lot of it is just staff watching and our knowledge. You know, we spend our day, you know, spinning in circles, just watching the group, paying attention to what's going on, who's, you know, here, and, you know, it might be someone in the small dog group and they're like, hey, look what's behind you, you know, that maybe we didn't notice at that exact second. But a lot of times just the movement around, we know, okay, well, this dog is tense, his tail is up, you know, he's starting to look a little bit uncomfortable. You know, we might be able to say, you know, hey, buddy, stop it. Oh, okay, walk away, you know, or us, you know, to use our own body to kind of separate, you know, move the dogs in opposite directions. So I think a lot of times...
So being proactive rather than reactive.
Right, you know, and a lot of times you're right, you know, does a herding dog want to play with the bully breed? Probably not, but there's usually enough variety of appropriate dogs that you tend not to see that. You know, if you put a bully breed and a border collie in a group together, they're going to be annoyed with each other really quickly. But if you got several herding groups, several bully breeds, you know, they tend to kind of stick with each other because the border collies want to play chase, you know, the bully breeds want to wrestle, and everybody's happy because they have, you know, they have a good counterpart.
That's pretty cool. That's
so,
good.
and we don't have any breed discrimination, you know. We do take pit bulls, and, you know, as long as they pass their, you know.
So you have Dobermans and Rottweilers and German Shepherds and Pekingese and Irish Setters and
a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything. So no dog is not allowed to come unless they pose a severe risk. But then in that case, if I still wanted to board my dog there,
you can still board them.
I could still board them or have a
And we've done second evaluations too. Like maybe we're a little bit unsure, but we're not saying no to start with. So we're like, oh, bring them back. Maybe a second time they're more comfortable. Sometimes more comfortable is not always as good because maybe it's worse because they're more comfortable and now they really show their true colors. So
but at least you give them a fair shot.
Give them a fair shot.
Well, Joni, how about if we take a little break and we bring some dogs in and see if have Christy do a little evaluation for us.
That's great.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Okay, so now, Christy, why don't you share with us what you're going to be doing and maybe kind of walk us through it, and, you know, we're going to try to, I assume, simulate maybe what you guys do in C-Spot Run.
We're going to do an introduction. We've got little Harmony here, so we're going to introduce her to a little dog, and then we'll just talk about you know, the body language that they're showing.
Okay.
Again, normally I'd like to do it off leash, but it's working easier right now to keep everybody on leash today.
Yeah, and just so everyone knows, so we stay in camera. That's why we're doing this. So normally, because you're absolutely right.
Right.
So,
normally that's, but this will be all right. So we'll have Cheryl come on in.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Do you know who Cheryl's bringing in?
Cheryl. Cheryl, what's the name of your dog?
This is Harley.
Harley. We've got Harley and Harmony.
Harley and Harmony. Do you want me to bring him right over? Or?
So we're kind of looking at their body language right now. Harley's kind of doesn't really care, but he's feeling relaxed. She was right up next to him, comfortable. So that was nice. One little greet, you know, with the two of them.
Checking out the camera, guys.
And walking away is nice. A lot of times if they spend too much time sniffing each other that first time, they get a little bit annoyed with each other. These guys don't even care much about each other. Remember, that's not always the worst thing in the world. It's good for dogs to be in a same situation with each other and not just nonstop playing.
Absolutely.
Because we've got nothing.
Okay to pet?
Yeah, I think they're okay to pet. They both seem pretty relaxed.
Hi.
Now, usually if tails are tall and high over their back, it's usually a sign of overconfidence. But in these two dogs' case, their natural tail carriage is actually up and over their back.
Exactly.
So that's one thing that we kind of have to take out when we're looking at their body language. But obviously they both came up for kisses. Nobody was tense or uncomfortable in that situation, so they care more about you than each other.
I'm going to have to take you home, I think, maybe, huh? Yes. Wonderful. Wonderful. So obviously a very, very good
very nice
first greeting.
Yep.
Now tell me a little bit about, like, were they polite? Was this was it an appropriate greeting?
This was pretty polite. When he first came in, Harmony was a little bit kind of tense and stiff. It might be hard for some people to tell, but she had a lot of her body motion in the front of her body, which can kind of be a confident thing. But I think she was maybe a little bit more curious of him at that, and she relaxed nicely. And the rest of her body seemed, you know, pretty relaxed. Oh, he's thinking about playing a little bit with her. And he was pretty comfortable. He didn't even care about her, which isn't a bad thing. You know, he was kind of checking out, you know, his own thing, but it wasn't like when she came up to him, you know, that he got stiff or, you know, snarky with him. So
interesting. And you know what I think is interesting too is, like, obviously it's much easier to read this dog's body language because of the short hair.
Right.
You know, and you can see the muscle and the tenseness or whatever, and a little bit different here with a longer hair dog.
He just yawned. Is that an indication of anything when you're mixing dogs?
Usually a yawn can mean stress. So it's tough to tell exactly what it is. Was it with this other dog? Was it because he's here? You know, who knows what, you know, exactly that could have been at this point. But a lot of times.
Oh, nice.
It's good.
A lot of times that is, you know, could, you know, indicate a sign of stress with dogs.
Yeah.
Tweety.
Well, let's try some bigger dogs.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right. Whoa.
So hi guys. These two guys obviously had a little bit of a different reaction. They came straight to each other. They've actually met once before, so it might not have been as scary where... where some dogs might be a little bit overwhelmed for a dog coming straight at them.
And we did talk about play style.
Yep. So this is a little bit more rude of a play style. He's kind of jumping right up on her back, throwing his paws over her. So she kind of wanted to get away, and that's perfectly fine. Come on. Oh, now she's coming back. She does have her hackles up just a little bit on her shoulders and near her rump. And that sometimes can mean a sign of aggression in dogs. I think hers is a little bit more excitement right now.
Probably aroused a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Her tail is wagging. She seems to be having a fun time, but she's definitely happy to get away from him when she's got a second.
Yeah. And obviously I'm in a corner because of my back.
Well,
here.
I have a feeling they'll knock each other down.
I can see, now I would assume that more space would be much more.
Would be better, more space, so that way they could move around without.
And you normally wouldn't have him on a leash, but we're trying to keep them in front of the camera.
Right, we don't want to knock any of the guys down or the cameras.
Yeah.
Come on,
and I think it's important to know that Booch is just 10 months old.
Right, he's just a puppy
He's just
still.
a puppy, and she's 2.5, so she's going to kind of try to put him in his place, and she's feeling that she can, I can get away.
What a nice looking dog.
He is a big, handsome guy.
And I think, if I'm
he's got
not
her
mistaken,
leash.
Christy, that these two play together every day here at the shelter.
They do, yeah.
Yeah, and obviously really enjoy themselves and have a good time.
Right. And you guys have also noticed that he's kind of gone and bit at her neck a little bit. That's actually a normal behavior for dogs. They do a lot of that, biting the necks and things like that. So it's not necessarily, a bad thing.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and this is one of those things we talked about, play style and body blocks.
Right.
And I mean, they really, the bully breeds really are all about,
They like that.
They do.
Up. Come here, you. Come here.
Okay. So obviously, if we had a bigger space, if you could drop the lead, we'd see a little bit more engaging.
Right. And I think she's really kind of worried about seeing everybody else. She's definitely a people dog. She wants to check out everything else and see what's going on. So.
Okay. Well,
right.
Why don't we take one of these guys away?
Well, that was an exciting get-together with the dogs, and a little excitement here, and hopefully it gives everybody a little bit more information about doggy daycare and what they can expect. Christy, we just want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and share what doggy daycare is all about and to give us some information on what you look for when dogs are coming to visit you. So thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And until next time,
Happy tales to you.